The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending upon where you have joined in from. My name is Manish, and as usual, I'll be your host today. So we still have, it's on the hour, we still should give, I think, a couple of few more minutes for people to join in. Uh, this is going to be a very important session today. I will cover up whatever was left yesterday and then uh, go to the third session, the agenda for the third session being the transaction. So I'll put you back on mute and let's wait, give everybody about another 2 or 3 minutes by the watch for everyone to join. It's 12:31 at my end and another 2 or 3 minutes maximum. So I'll put you guys on mute, but I presume I'm audible enough. Can you just confirm by pressing the hand icon button so that I know? Thank you, David. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Fazan. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, John. Thank you, Peter. Very good. So I'll put you guys on mute and another 2 minutes, I would say, not more than that, and then we'll reconvene. So, hello, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I have a few questions already. Faizan wants to know question. Okay, I was not available to attend on Monday. Where is the link to view that session? I could not find it yesterday. Well, Faizan, we'll upload all the links when we are done with the sessions, as in on Friday, and they'll be available on the knowledge portal. Um, David has another question. Uh, all right. So David McGavin asks a very pertinent question. He says, um, "Where can I?" Let me read the question. Can I ask for direction as to the preferred ideal training route for companies and their employees with no prior point of sale or iVend retail experience who are expecting to implement an NCR iVend retail solution in the very future? And then David also goes on to ask, am I correct in assuming that this webinar should be followed up by local solution provider for the training? Yes, both the answers are correct. Both the questions are correct. Short answer to the question, these sessions that I'm having Monday to Friday, these are basically to get the audience oriented around iVend retail as to what the product is all about, the different terminology, the retail profile, which spoke at length yesterday, We spoke very briefly about tills. We'll talk about that. The entire terminology, specifically around iVend Retail, is what we discuss in these 5 days. These sessions are then followed up by a classroom session, which is a very different world altogether. In the classroom session, what we do is we circulate a sample business blueprint document of a fictitious retailer, let's say apparel and footwear. It has all the master data. The document has the business processes mentioned, and it will be expected by the people attending the training to configure iVend Retail ground up by fresh installation, not a demo stack, fresh installation of iVend Retail, configure the master data, configure the different prices, taxes, customers, suppliers, items, promotions, gift cards, coupons, all the good stuff, and then including mobility, and then kind of do a what we call is the conference room pilot or maybe a UAT session. So the classroom session is very different. It's like it includes setup of hardware, a receipt printer, and a cash drawer. In the context of NCR, the NCR related hardware, not necessarily the self checkout one, but the other stuff. So the classroom sessions are subsequent to this. This is more of a precursor orientation sessions to basically get your head around the different terminology that we use in iVend Retail, specifically in iVend Retail. And to answer the first question, where how do we get people understand retail as a concept? Well, that's a difficult one. It's very difficult to kind of suggest training courses, or for that matter, iVend that we run specifically for companies who do not have a prior formal retail implementation experience. Can't answer that question really. I mean, the inherent assumption is that people who are attending these sessions or want to have iVend Retail as one of their preferred line of business should have sufficient amount of retail experience. All right, so that said, let's get started. We are not a full house right now, but I think as we go along, we would have many people trickle in. So we pick up where we left yesterday. Okay, so we did cover the retail profile at length. We did cover the enterprise setting and retail profile at length. We brushed through very hurriedly through the till setup and the end of day process. So let's start there and then move on to the back office transactions. As I said earlier yesterday, I'm using SAP Business One as the core ERP at the back end for a simple reason that it was more convenient for me to do so. No other reason. The similar level of integration is available with other ERPs also. SAP B1 being far more portable as compared to the others. So I'll be using that, but predominantly I'll restrict myself to remain within iVend Retail. Even if the transactions, I would much rather remain within iVend Retail. Should there be need, I'll move around. I have to go to, when we talk about store setup, which you missed yesterday, I will have to go to the core ERP when we talk about store setup with all that stuff. So let's get started. I'll first talk about the store setup, the topic that I missed yesterday. Okay, then I'll talk about the till setup, which I briefly covered, and then move on to the back office transaction. So let's get started there. You'll excuse me for a moment. Let me pause the screen and switch on this other application. So while the my ERP gets kind of loaded, to give you a background as to what is it that we're trying to do from a store perspective. So what we did yesterday, we covered the global settings that we have to mention as far as, we covered the global settings as far as the enterprise setting in iVend is concerned. We went on to talk about the retail profile. We also mentioned the fact that retail profile is essentially a template which gets attached, kind of gets invoked depending upon whether an employee is logged in, employee has a retail profile attached to it, or the point of sale has a retail profile, or the store, and eventually whether the enterprise has some kind of profile attached to it. So it's more of a hierarchical fallback mechanism that we use as far as retail profile is concerned. I also directed the audience to the knowledge portal to look up knowledge articles on retail profile, manager overrides, etc. There's another article that I've written which essentially talks about who we are, what we do, the moving parts of iVend Retail, how does one module interconnects with the other, what are the broad benefits and features of the application. An article that you can find in on the knowledge portal which talks about iVend Retail at length. So that said, let's come back. So as I said, let's talk about the store to begin with. So here I am in the iVend Management Console, the application that is used at the head office and also at the store. Same application, differs from the two environments, head office and the store, for the user rights available to people who are operating the application. So we did system initialization, enterprise communication setting, etc. yesterday. Let's go to the next one, all the way to retail configuration. We spoke about retail profile. Let's talk about the stores now. Let me just open this. All right. So obviously there's a code and a description. The store type this is a retail store, and we spoke about this very briefly yesterday. A store type could either be a retail store where you do retail transaction, or it could be a general warehouse where you don't have a point of sale, but you still want to do back office operations, like, for example, stock transfer requests, shipments, good receipts, etc. So there are two types of stores available. The third one, of course, being the in-transit stores, which doesn't come here. Talking about in-transit stores, we have a concept where you could have one in-transit warehouse. It's a logical warehouse. In Sage terminology, it's the logical warehouse. You could have one in-transit warehouse for all the retail stores that you have, or you could have one individual for every retail store. And let me try and explain why do we need an in-transit warehouse? Because what happens is, physically on the ground, goods move from one warehouse or a store to the other warehouse or the store, and there is some kind of a time lag in between. So to ensure that the inventory is managed appropriately and it is available in the store when the goods physically arrive, we first move let's say the stock transfer or the good receipt, so to say, first to the logical warehouse, and it's from the logical warehouse or the in-transit warehouse where the goods are then received in the actual physical warehouse. An in-transit warehouse is also required just in case you want to keep track of the inventory, how much is in transit. And we will show that to you when we talk about inventory, stock levels, etc. If you have one common thing, then the entire inventory is in that one in-transit warehouse. If you have individual in-transit warehouses, then you would be able to know that much more better. So that's as far as the in-transit is concerned. Then we have something called a selling warehouse. Okay. Now, if I were to define a new store here, if I were to press the new button, if I were to define a new store, in that case, it could either be a retail or an e-commerce store. We'll come to e-commerce store in a while. Then the second point is the selling warehouse. Selling warehouse is essentially defined if you have accounting application or an ERP integrated. These are defined first in the accounting application or the ERP application, and they get inherited here automatically. And once you select any one, let's say I pick up this one for sake of discussion. Okay, and so this warehouse, which is a warehouse defined in the ERP, is now attached to a physical store which is defined in iVend Retail. Let me try and again explain this a bit more by showing you SAP Business One. As I said, I'm picking up this because it's for sake of convenience. You would do something similar if, let's say, for example, you were doing Sage. This one screen, warehouse screen in SAP Business One, is by far the slowest screen ever. So it'll take a while for it to come up. But what you would do is, as a part of your integrated setup, you will define warehouses at a certain place, which is here, and then you mark this as a retail store. You would have marked it as a retail store. Let me just 004 is what I'll pick up. So this one is a retail store. It isn't a retail in-transit warehouse. It has the in-transit warehouse for this retail store is 005. And then I specify the different accounting information, cash account, expense account, tender warehouse account, the different tenders available here, etc. In the context of SAP Business One, I'm doing this setup in Business One. In the context of Sage, I would do all this when I have an add-on available in iVend Retail. All these settings would be done in iVend Retail. Okay, so the point I was trying to make here is that you define warehouses here, and these warehouses would then be available in iVend for configuration, specifying that, okay, a warehouse defined in ERP is actually a retail store defined here in iVend, and it will be marked as a retail store. Okay, that said, let's just open this and see what are the different options that we have. So I was talking about code and description, a store type, a retail store, selling warehouse is the avenues, give the address, attach a retail profile to this. When you attach a retail profile, this is more used in case a retail profile is not attached to a user, as in a cashier or the point of sale. Then we have something called the store mode. Okay, this one is enterprise with the store, and let me at this stage try and confuse the audience a little bit. Okay, this is a retail store. I'll pick up any one. Let's say consignment warehouse. Okay, and this is not enabled here, but this will be enabled if I don't have an ERP integrated to it. So this is the store mode. In this case, in my case, what is happening is mine is what we call as a mixed mode. Okay, this is where it becomes slightly confusing, but hear me out carefully. This setup that we have and the setup that you have on the demo stack essentially has the enterprise and the store and the point of sale all rolled into one single device. In the real world, what will happen is you'll have an enterprise at a separate location, you'll have store at a separate location, and then you have a point of sale in a separate machine. So you'll have 3 separate boxes, if you may. But there could be a situation where, let's say, it's a small format retail store. It's the same device which is used as the management console for the store and also the point of sale. In that case, it becomes a mixed mode of sorts. Okay, it'll become more and more clear as we move along in the discussions today and tomorrow and the day after. But for now, this one is an enterprise which also has a store. It's the mixed mode. Okay, from a deployment standpoint, I will make it slightly more complicated as we move along from an explanation standpoint. And feel free to ask questions, because this is, as I said, rather confusing, if you may. It's not a straight line of sorts. Not that it is a kind of a design flaw. It's just that as a concept, it takes a while to get your head around it. Where we're talking about mixed modes, there's another one called a commingled mode. We'll come to that. That makes it slightly more complicated. Okay, but when you click this enable offline store, okay, the store becomes offline. Similarly, we could have an offline point of sale. You make an offline point of sale only when your store is commingled with your enterprise. So I'll keep using this terminology. Please don't get confused. If you're not getting it, no problem, no harm done. We'll come to this again and again. Then for every store, there has to be a cash customer. So it's a customer defined, wherever we define the customers, we attach a cash customer. Purchase and sales tax code if it is at the store level. Then we have something called a fulfillment plan. Fulfillment plans, in this case, I'm using a delivery type fulfillment plan for special orders. And similarly for layaways, I'm using a delivery type fulfillment plan. Now let me try and explain a fulfillment plan. A fulfillment plan essentially is a mechanism by which we let the point of sale and more importantly the application know as to how the goods would be delivered. I could be delivering goods pretty much like a supermarket environment where you scan the goods, pay for it, and the inventory gets depleted. Or I could have, let's say, an electronic retailer where a person places an order and the delivery is done from a warehouse, which could be back of the store or a completely different location. So my fulfillment could either be of the type sales, like in a supermarket environment, when you sell, the inventory is depleted, or the fulfillment could be delivery type, which says that the inventory gets depleted only when the goods are actually delivered and shipped out. Okay, so we have two types of fulfillments, the delivery type and the sales type. So because it is a special order, I'm saying my fulfillment type is going to be delivery type because we really don't know at what point in time the goods actually would be shipped out. It certainly would not be immediately. That's the whole concept of a special order. Okay. So the other thing that we can do in a fulfillment plan and explain that whenever, let me just click it actually. So that's a fulfillment tab plan that I've defined. And these are all available in your demo stack also. I'm saying this is a description. My inventory allocation method is delivery type. Okay, that means inventory would be delivered or will be depleted only when it's delivered. There are no lead times available, and I can specify whether you want to reserve quantity for special orders, yes or no. On this side, I'm saying I have the option of attaching surcharges. So I'm saying my surcharge ID is DHL. That's the amount, and it needs to be paid in advance. I think I did mention yesterday that we have the option of asking the customer at the point of sale whether you would like to pay the entire money in advance or not. I give a long example about the 60-inch television. And I can specify there whether you want to have the surcharges paid in advance or not. So this is as far as fulfillment is concerned, delivery type or a sales type. Okay, and you may or you may not like to configure as pay in advance. Okay, I know there's a question. We'll keep going, and I'll pick up in a moment. Then I have, for the store standpoint, is there a layaway plan or not? Is there a specified salesperson I want to attach at the store? Reassign all tills at the end of the day. We'll come to this when I do the end of day in a moment. Immediately I've done the definition of a store. We'll tell you what this really means. The tills get automatically reassigned at the end of the day. Is there any specific hardware profile that you want to attach to the store? Now, again, pretty much like the retail profile, we also have something called a hardware profile. Hardware profile, again, is more of a template, which allows the retailer to define the different types of hardware available for different kind of terminals. So, for example, because a retailer grows over a period of time, the hardware in a retailer environment is always a quite interesting mix. What that means is some of the terminals are old, some of the terminals are new. There are some printers which are old, there are some printers which are new, and so on and so forth. So what we do is we allow the retailer or the people who are implementing to create those templates. So in my case, for example, I have an Epson receipt printer and a local, you'll excuse me, but a Chinese kind of a cash drawer, and I don't have let's say, a scanner. So I create a hardware profile. Okay, create a hardware profile, and I attach that hardware profile normally to a point of sale. In case there's no hardware profile on the point of sale, it gets defaulted here on the store. So let me just try and very hurriedly show you what a hardware profile looks like. This one is a default simulated hardware profile. I press edit, and these are the different options that I have available for me. So I'm saying my receipt printer is TMT884, which is an Epson printer. I don't have a physical printer. I'm not using a document printer. I do not have a delivery receipt printer. My cash drawer is a local cash drawer. I'm using a simulated pole display. I am using a normal magnetic stripe reader. I don't have a scale. I don't have an MICR. I'm not capturing signatures. I have a normal, simple barcode reader, etc. So let's pick up this printer. Where did this come from? So I select this, okay, and this is the printer that I have. I press edit. Okay, so what is happening here is, I'll tell you where can you go hardware registration from the menu item, but I give a code and a description. I give the hardware type as one of these: receipt printer, document printer, cash drawer, poll display, max, etc. And then the moment I select the receipt printer, it automatically, then I select what is the hardware type, whether it's an OPOS or different type, barcode reader, etc. So I pick up the hardware. The assembly name and the class name are automatically picked up. Okay, because system understand that if the hardware is a receipt printer and the hardware type is an OPOS receipt printer, then these are the assemblies and the class names that I have to pick up. I press the config button. This information that is mentioned here comes from an OPOS utility where I configure the hardware. Now, guys, you'll excuse me if I'm getting slightly more complex here, okay? Because this is the most critical part of an implementation. This is where we really need to do it by our own hands. I can't explain this to you on a WebEx session. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to configure a receipt printer, an OPOS receipt printer, to my existing setup, essentially to my point of sale. And I'll come to this subsequently, maybe towards the end of the session today or maybe sometime tomorrow, as to how do we configure the hardware. But broadly speaking, this name comes from the utility that I was talking about, the hardware OPOS utility, that essentially the driver that comes along with that particular hardware. It could be a receipt printer, cash drawer, poll display, max stripe, etc. So I won't confuse it any further. Let's go back to where I came from. I was talking about the hardware profile that we need to attach at the store level. Normally, as I said, is that it is attached at the point of sale level, because a point of sale, that entire set was more of a template. Store group on taxation and store group for pricing, I don't have to mention because I do not have store groups defined. For this particular store, this is the price list for selling, and this is the cost price list. Now and then there's a third one called the retail price list. Let's first try and explain these two. This is a price list because I have an integrated environment. This price list comes from the core ERP solution. This is the price list that they're coming from that places, from the ERP. I'll explain to where in the ERP. So I have two types of price list: the selling and the cost price. Okay. I'll take a small pause here and try and address any questions that we have. I think we have a few. Okay. One moment. So Faizan wants to know what constitutes a delivered order. How does the system know that? What really happens is a delivered order. We'll do a transaction. That's part of the agenda today. So there are two types of, a couple of ways of doing transactions. One is a normal sale transaction. Manish walks in, he identifies himself, he buys whatever he has to go away. Simple sale, supermarket environment. You sell, you're done. Okay. The moment you kind of collect the cash, and the system understands the transaction is complete, the inventory is depleted. Simplest way of doing it, no big drama. The second is when we talk about a special order. Special order is always against a named customer, Manish or Edward in this case, and we would select the items that he wants to buy. A fulfillment plan gets automatically attached because we have a default fulfillment plan attached at the store level. And then what happens is I could either be delivering that particular order from the store or from a different warehouse, which I can specify in my transaction that what is going to be my delivery warehouse. So to answer your question, what constitutes a delivered order is essentially you pick it up and you say fulfillment. We'll do the transaction. Imagine you recalling a transaction, a special order on your point of sale, press the fulfillment button, take the balance money if a balance money is to be collected. And at that point in time, the moment the transaction gets over, that is constituted as a delivered order. Okay, I think that answers the question. Then the next one is it possible to use price lists in iVend unplugged? A user would like to set retail prices based on vendor price entered in the good receipt and markup per product or product group. Could you please explain how it works? That's a question from Alex. So let me try and explain how does really work. There are only few things which are contingent upon if you have an ERP integrated. Okay. For example, prices is one of them, taxes are the others. If you do not have, let's say, an ERP at the back end, you would still be able to create a price list and you can attach the prices at the store level. Okay. So, to the point that the retailer would like to mark them up, yes, you can always mark them up. Okay, there are standard mechanism available. Either you can mark them up by a percentage, by a factor, or by an absolute amount. You can mark them up depending upon the way you want to mark them up. So it certainly is. I mean, iVend Retail allows you to do that this way or the other. When I say this way or the other, whether an ERP attached or not attached. Robin wants to know, I have seen in iVend there is a special price list that can override the default price list when selling either by customer or price list. Can the cashier override an item that is not on the special price list, perhaps an ad hoc deal where he would like to know what the cost is so to not sell below the cost? Okay, couple of questions here. Okay. Yes, obviously, a special price list will always override a price list which is generic for the particular store. Special price list is always for a specific customer. In this case, in the case of iVend Unplugged, the demo stack, we have Donald Martin and Paul White are two of the customers who have a special price list attached to them. You can search for that. Okay. Now, the second part of the question is, can the cashier override an item that is not on the special price list, perhaps an ad hoc deal? So when you say the cashier can override an item, you essentially mean cashier can override the price set as default for an item. So let's say I am Donald Martin. I buy 100102 an apparel t-shirt, and the price list says I get a 10% discount. The question, as I understand, is can the cashier still go ahead and change the percentage or the amount? Yes, he can if he has the authority to do so. He may not be allowed to do so in case there's a manager override, etc. So it depends upon the policy. Would the system allow you to do that? Yes, the system would certainly allow you to kind of override the price list, whatever is being defaulted. I think that answers the question. Is that true, Robin? Did I answer the question the way you wanted? Maybe yes. Okay, let's yes, says Robin. Thank you very much. Okay, let's keep going. So we talked about the price list. Then there's another small little tick which says is on premise or not. Okay, this is where it becomes, as I said earlier, slightly confusing, if you may. So it is possible, it is certainly possible that I do not want to have a store server kind of a machine in the store. It's a small format retail store. My staff is not fully equipped to manage the back office operations, or at least manage the machine which is there in the office, hubs, routers, switches, and all that. Is it possible that I take that box away and put it at a central location? Can I do that? Is the question, and that's the question that this small little tick tries to answer. So it's called a commingled setup, which means, let me try and show that on this diagram. So what that essentially means is, rather than having the store server somewhere here, I just want to move it and put it somewhere here. Okay. So what happens is the whole environment at the store is connected directly to the store, or this is one single box. This will be one single box which is there, which has my enterprise and the store and the stores actually. So this also can kind of move up here. Okay. It is not necessary that all of them have to be here. Some of them can still remain on premise and some of them can go onto the cloud. Well, cloud as in the data center, not a cloud kind of a thing. All right, so I certainly can do that. Such an environment is called a commingled environment. Okay, in a commingled environment, the stores are defined and managed in the same database as, or the same box as the enterprise server. The store manager who sits here connects to his own store over a remote desktop connection. So it's an RDP connection that he does and connects it here. So this small little tick determines a whole lot, okay, where the store server is kind of located. Okay, so let's bring it back to where it was. And then at some point in time later, when we talk about the point of sale, I'll also talk about what is the concept of an offline POS and how does that really work. But for now, we'll stick to this. Is it in on-premise or not? And then it says, do you want to use the store scheduler service? I think like you schedule things accordingly. The entire replication service. Then this is a mention of that for this particular store, which is my API server. Okay, in a demo stack environment, as I said, my enterprise, my API server, my store server, and my point of sale are all in the same box. It is the same place where I also have the iVend e-commerce also, but I could typically have my API server other than the main store of sorts. So this is what the system wants to know. Where is your API server and what is its address? And then there are user defined fields that I want to capture. What is the company PIN code, etc. So these are typically for my hospitality and optical retail solution. So having done this, then I need to define the custom series for the retail store. So if I were to create a customer or a supplier or vendor or a product at the store, what are the numbering series that system should use to create such a customer or a vendor or a product in the application and integrate it back to the ERP. Then I have registered management console. Okay, what is the management console that is registered? This has connotations in licensing. My licensing for this application that you see here, management console, could either be device based, as in for every such application, for every such device which uses iVend management console, there's a license, or it could be user based. That means Manish is a user and he has access to management console. So he could just walk in anywhere, his user ID and password is validated. So the management console licenses work both as a device, as a CAL license or as a user-based license. So in this case, this is a place where I specify which is the registered management console for this particular user. Okay. Similarly, I can have the handheld devices registered. Okay, in this case, I have a Pocket PC and a Xiaomi device for my inventory counting purposes. So I just specify what are the different handheld devices that I've registered here. And we'll come to handheld devices in a subsequent discussion as to, which I did mention very briefly, where you can actually do warehousing related transactions, which is typically receiving of goods, stock takes, stock counts, stock transfers, print labels, etc. from a handheld device, from typically a Motorola kind of a handheld device, which could either be running on a Windows platform. We also have now it available on the Android platform, so it runs both ways. And then the price list, if in case you want to mention additional stored price list other than that what is mentioned here in your in the store. So that's how that's as far as the store setup is concerned. Let me try and see if I have any questions to answer. So Lister wants to know the demo stack that I'm running does not have a cost price list option. Yes, Vish is right in saying that shouldn't happen that way. You can also write to support@cityx.com, or maybe after the session we can speak individually and see what's going wrong in your demo stack installation. Normally it doesn't happen that way. So there could be some setting or that would be a miss. But other than that, normally it just works, All right, so that was as far as the store is concerned. Okay. Similarly, I have my e-commerce also defined and managed as a store. Okay. So all that we had defined for a normal on-premise store is also applicable for my e-commerce. Obviously, we don't reassign the tills at the end of the day, but these options are also available. When you select the store type as an e-commerce store, so apart from the API details, we also mentioned what is the store service URL. So where is the service running? This is where it is running. What's the user ID and what's the password? So that's how iVend Enterprise would then communicate to iVend e-commerce. On the diagram, what we are saying is, if you mention the e-commerce detail here, that's how these two applications will then start talking to each other. So that's as far as the store setup is concerned for e-commerce store. Okay, I will take a little pause here and try and answer any questions. David says the cost price field is hidden and can be added using a customization view. Thank you, David. So my friend David Webb says the cost price list field is hidden and can be added using the customization view. Okay, thank you, David. Let's keep walking. Let's keep going. Okay, let's come back to what we were doing yesterday, as in the till management. And then there were also a few questions that remain unanswered yesterday. We'll try and answer them as well. So let's go to the till management. We were talking about what is a till and how does it really look like. So, which I think I did explain to everyone, that till actually is that small, imagine the till to be the small little tray that is put in the cash drawer, which can be removed. I mean, that small little tray which has those clips on it, that's the till. Okay. In your system, this word till would not be visible as till. It will be visible as, I just changed the caption. It is called the master till. A slight misnomer, but I just call it tills. I can always rename it. So these are the tills that I have. I have one for the terminal point of sale, two for the mobile point of sale, and I have one more for a second user. Then the second part is the till status. The status of a till could either be assigned or it could be new. All right. So if you have started doing transactions, it automatically gets assigned. Remember, there was a setting in the store where it says reassign tills at the end of the day. So what we are going to do now is we'll try and see how best to do and carry out an end of day transaction, and so that it automatically, I'm able to start the next business day. So the flexibility, there's a huge amount of flexibility that the entire master till concept and the tills concept gives us to the users. But in my mind, the way I have understood this is that you should always try and have one point of sale, one till. Though a point of sale, physical point of sale, a cash drawer can have multiple tills, but for sake of simplicity, it makes sense to just to understand it for the first time, that every point of sale is a till, which isn't the true thing, but for sake of simplicity, I'm saying, imagine a point of sale to be a till. Okay, it becomes that much more easy. Okay, and if the and if the tills are not in the designs, not in the assigned state, and you want to carry out the end of the day, an easier way to do that is to just delete it. Okay, this is new. I just delete it. So I have now two tills that I have to close. Okay, so now let's go to the end of day. So there are different processes available when we try and define the end of day. And we'll get to know this more when we talk about when we define a till, etc. But we'll first do the end of day and then go to the other options of the till. Well, let me just try and do that first. We'll talk about the tills here. So this one. So I have the code and a description. The till operates in the user mode or in the team mode. That means either it's a 1:1 combination, Manish and a till, or a team of people using the same cache drawer and the same till. So you could operate in the user mode or in the till mode. Enable self-banking, which, let me try and remember what is self-banking. So basically allows you to kind of manage a currency on your own. Well, I'll just come to this. I'm just slipping my memory as to what is self-banking. Allow multi-currency float or not. What is the float amount for the till? Should the float amount be variable? Which is the store that this is attached to? Which is the point of sale is this attached to? The variance type is an amount. Variance allowed is none. And then you have all these different options. Count on assign, count on close, on remove, and on finalize. Okay. So when we try and close a till, depending upon how I have configured it, it'll expect us to count or not count. So let's try and do that. Somewhere in between, I have a question which I think Vish answered, but still, one moment. So Farhan wants to know, is it like a virtual cache drawer for specific point of sale user? Well, it's not virtual. It's the removal part of the cache drawer, as which rightly said. Let me try and actually show that to you as to what is it I'm talking about. One moment. So, because it took me a while to get my head around the entire concept of tills. So I won't be surprised that you find it slightly confusing, which is absolutely okay. I'm just trying to project just one moment. All right. Just bear with me. So that's the cache drawer and the printer. Let me open this. And this one that I'm able to take out, this is the till. This removable part, that actually is the till. So when we talk about tills, it is this bit that we are talking about, as in the removable part or the different tills. So I can have multiple such tills for the same cache drawer. Sorry for the noise. Let me stop this. All right. Just bear with me one more minute. Yep. So Farhan, did I kind of explain it as good enough? Do you understand as to what is the till that I'm talking about? What is the till? All right. Let's keep going. So I spoke about the tills. Okay, then I spoke about the different tills which have a different status, which is assigned or not assigned. Okay. And now let's try and do this end of day. I go to end of day. I first do the till count. Okay, so these are the two tills available. I double click and it says, okay, 779.86, 100 in credit card, 609.95, sorry, in credit card, the other one was a gift card. Okay, so there's no variance. I press OK. Sorry. And then I have this one. just no transactions on the. So let's go back again just to be very sure. 779.86, 100 in gift card, 609.95. Okay. All right, then I go to the next one. There's no transactions here. Press OK. I'll pick up a reason code if I have any. No. It's okay. All right, then I say remove the till. Successfully removed. Then I press the other one. Successfully removed. So now, when I say remove the till, this is the physical process where the cashier took it out, and he then goes ahead and closes the till. That no more transaction. See, that status is now deassigned. Okay, he will count it again. 779.86, 100, 609.95. Okay. If you want to proceed, yes. Till is closed now. Pick up the next one. Closed. I go to finalize. The process of finalization typically is done by the store manager himself, where he will actually get the tills in his office and then he will count them if there are any variances. So he does the counting again. 779.86, 609.95, 100. And you also have the option of counting the denominations. If I have defined the denominations, it'll tell me, sorry, not here. Let's go to cash. If I have the denominations defined, it will expect me to mention the denomination type, denomination value, what is the count amount, what is the count, and what is the amount. In this case, we haven't defined denomination, so it will work. Similarly for credit card, if you see the credit card, it'll these are the two credit card available for. These are the two transactions done using credit card. Okay, I press all right. So yes. The last one which is left. Okay, this one has 410.67. Okay, and I press OK. Yes. So now all my tills are successfully closed. I go to end of day. System, my current business date is March the 2nd. It'll ask me for the next business date, let's say March the 3rd. I could pick up March the 3rd, I could pick up any other date. This also can be controlled. I'm keeping it a previous date because maybe if I have to do a few more end of days, I should not be doing a transaction for a future date on the current date. We spoke about the system date and the business date yesterday anyways. So let's just start the end of day process. Updating, it updates the business dates, checks the till status. In case some of the tills are not closed, it will stop here and it says, in this case, we had only 2 tills. End of day process completed. All right. Okay. And when I log in again, my business date would be, it still is March the 2nd, but when I log in again, it will become the 3rd automatically. I have a few questions here. You see, Faizan wants to know, can credit cards be auto-populated when doing the till count? Didn't understand the question quite very well. So basically what's happening is when you're defining, wherever you're defining tender types, so you're defining a Visa credit card or a Master credit card or a JCB or a Discover or American Express, okay, wherever you define the tender types, so let's say you define a Visa card as a tender type in iVend Retail. At the point of sale, you select Visa, you do the transaction. So the transaction gets recorded against the tender type Visa. So to the point that you're asking, can the credit card be auto-populated with the till count? I think what you're asking for is, can the system automatically say so much for Visa, so much for Master, so much for American Express? If that is the case, it depends upon the tender type that you have defined. Ramzi wants to know, can you please explain the end of shift and starting of the new shift process? Uh, well, so there are two concepts here. One is the shift, okay. The other is the end of day. So let's say I'm running a store operations which span 18 hours. So when it's spanning up across 18 hours, then somewhere in those 18 hours, my calendar date would change. So what I really want is that my business date should remain the first, even if the calendar date is second. That's my first requirement. My second requirement is that obviously nobody works for 18 hours. I'll have two shifts of 9 hours each. So if I should have the option of finalizing the till, but not doing the end of day. So what you would do as a store manager is, so Manish walks in shift one, he does his 9 hours job, he closes the till, he counts, removes, closes the till. The store manager finalizes the till. The first shift is over. The second shift, let's say Ramzi walks in, he does the second shift. At the end of the shift, he again counts, removes, closes, finalizes. Okay, and then the store manager finally does the end of day procedure. So that's how the two different shifts for the same business date would be maintained. I think that was the question that you wanted to know. I'm sorry, I think I've answered it the way you wanted to. Any other questions that you have? There should be a few more questions on the I would say on the till management in the end of day process. I see Peter is rather quiet today. Faizan wants to know that do you always have to remove a till? Yeah, of course you'll have to remove a till. Yes, Peter is in the listen only mode. All right, that's fine. So Faizan wants to know that you always have to remove a till. Yes, you'll have to remove a till. Imagine the drawer, the way it works in at least in supermarkets and even other specialty retail also. You have to physically remove the till and you take it to the cashier. In large supermarkets like Tesco's and Sainsbury, what really happens is you take the till out, that drawer, you count it for yourself, you generate an X-tape report, which is done by the cashier himself. You generate the X-tape report, sign it, put it in the cash drawer, and put the cash drawer in a safe somewhere. Okay, and you go back and you go home wherever. The second guy comes, he picks up a fresh till and does the whole thing all over again. And at the end of the day, the store manager then takes away those tills from that safe of sorts, and then counts it and then does the end of day. So, I mean, the entire solution, though it's more suited for a specialty retail apparel footwear kind of business, it does have these kind of features which are very important and very critical when we talk about a convenience and a supermarket environment. Okay, so that as far as removing a till is concerned, you certainly have to remove the till. Then Robin wants to know, can the cash up declaration be done the next day? Well, no, you would much rather do it. What you would do is you generate an X-tape report. I should have done that. Maybe I'll do it again. You generate an X-tape report which has the denominations. Let me see if I can still do it. I go here and generate the X-tape report. So that's the X-tape report which says tender name, cash, credit card, and gift card. Okay, so this is the entire amount. And then the different transaction types. Okay, so much in sales, refunds, exchange, delivery, etc. So much in special orders. This is something that is generated by the cashier from the point of sale. He prints it, signs it off, and puts it in the drawer. So that's how this process typically works. I think I had one more question. So Faizan says many retailers leave cash in the drawer here in the UK. Yes. So what they do is it's called a float amount, and it'll the moment I restart my point of sale, it'll ask for the float amount. Yes. So that either they leave in the cash drawer at the end of the day, or more importantly, when they come in the morning, it's at that point in time that the store manager gives them certain amount of change, be it in coins or be it in currency notes. So leaving cash in the cash drawer overnight is pretty much the same as putting the cash back into the cash drawer when your shift starts. All right, so let's get started. I think let's move on to the next topic. Okay, let's try and do a few transactions, try and break the system, and how it goes. I think it was an important topic. I wanted to cover it in as much detail as I possibly could. So that, as far as this is concerned. So we now go to the operations side of the business, as in the back office business. Okay, I'm not too hung up on the point of sale part of it, because that's basically a place where you execute whatever is decided at the central level or at the store manager level. So let's go here. Go to the operations part. It has options like business partner, till management we covered, loyalty, inventory, pricing and promotions, business transactions. Pretty simple and straight. I don't have to really talk a lot about a customer or a group or a customer catalog or a customer printing. We'll straight away go to business transactions as to what are the options available. I'll cover the inventory part once I'm done with the business transactions, because this will automatically come up. So let's go straight with the business transactions. So as I said, I could have a purchase order created from within iVend, irrespective whether I have an ERP integrated or not. I could do a good receipt, which is without a purchase order, or I could do a good receipt with the purchase order. I can have a request, stock transfer request. I can have a stock transfer request that I've received. I could be doing a stock transfer shipment out, or I could be receiving against a stock transfer. I could issue goods out, and I could do goods return. I can build a kit or break a kit, inventory counting, expenses planning scenario. Will come to that as we move along. I want to cover this part, which is what makes it different from the others: the mobile point of sale delivery, the Amazon model, take the order, deliver it from the point of sale. So we'll talk about that. So let's start with a purchase order. Now, you would be creating a purchase order. Normally, purchase ordering exercise is done centrally. It is done at a central location where the procurement people buy in bulk and let the supplier know either to supply the goods directly to the stores or direct them to a central warehouse. I will do two transactions, one here and one in the core ERP. Sorry, that's good. So let's create a purchase order. Okay, when you create a purchase order, create a new, pick up a vendor. My favorite is Acme. Search. Okay. Then this is my supplier. This is the warehouse where I want the goods to be delivered. This is the PO reference number. This is the vendor reference number in case I want to attach it. No accounting ID. There's a delivery date, which is today. Status is open. No totals have been calculated yet. No taxes have been mentioned. Okay, there's no discount available, etc., etc. Okay, there is no reasons. I can attach a reason code also. Comment. Let's call it local purchase. All right. Now I can add the product one by one, or I could import it from a file. When I import it from a file, essentially what's happening is that text file would have all the item codes in the comma delimited format. I just import the file, it will go through. In this case, we'll add one by one. So add the product group is apparel. I search. Let's say I want to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And let's say I want to have 10 pieces. All right. This is being bought for this particular warehouse, as in the store. Okay, there's no discount type of applicable. There's no reason codes applicable. No comment, nothing. Just press OK. Go continue, yes. That's my purchase order number 11. System will automatically open a document for printing purposes. Don't go by the format. All retailers want it in a very different manner. This is the simplest way we could have done it. In 100% of the cases, and I'm telling you 100% of the cases, the entire such documents, we call it marketing documents. These marketing document, purchase order, good receipts, stock transfer receipts, etc., these are all done all over again. So this is one purchase order document that is created. Okay, I just wanted to bring in to your attention a small little notification that just arrived. Okay, I click this. It's basically an interstore notification. It says there is a purchase order that has been created today. So this is an information that typically would go to the store manager if the purchase order was created centrally. Okay, this happens all automatic. Okay, if I want to see, I can see all the transactions that have happened, or just I can say the unread ones. All right, so that's the purchase order that I created. I go here. I want to do a good receipt against the purchase order. Okay, this was I want to create a new good receipt. Actually, I create a new good receipt. What the system does is automatically list all those purchase orders which are in the open state and which are applicable to this particular retail store. Pick it up, okay. And there you are. So it says, let me open this a bit. This was the ordered quantity. This is the quantity that yet to be received. This is the quantity that you're receiving. So let's say I got 5 each. I got 5 pieces. Then it asks me for where do you want to keep these? Okay, so there's something. Remember, I was talking about locations. So these are logical areas. I could create one which I could say, let's say, received but not accounted for kind of a location. All right. For sake of simplicity, I put it directly into saleable. But I could have an unaccounted for location called unaccounted. I could create a location which says, as I said, received but not counted, received but not approved, received but not checked, etc., whatever. And when I'm defining the location, let's say I say C, I can specify that in this location, okay, what all operations are allowed: sales, refund, fulfillment, receive, transfer, issue, return, and freeze. These are the options which are allowed for this particular location called saleable in the store warehouse. In the store, the avenues. Okay, so if I want to talk about received but not accounted for, it could only be a good receive, and it is not a sales location. In this case, it's a sales location, so that's fine. I press OK. So the location, I've specified the location. I think I have to specify it here one by one, is it? Sorry, guys, I didn't realize. Okay, so I've done this. I press OK, and I've received 5 pieces of this. The transaction would go through, no drama. Okay, so I've just received this. This is fine. I have a question in between. Let me try and answer. All right. Peter wants, so when a PO is raised, is the PO also raised in the ERP system? Yes. Yes, it is. Okay. Then the next question is, the items listed, is that obtained from the ERP items, or must items be created in iVend? Meaning, does the ERP and iVend sync between each other? Yes. Yes. That's one of the biggest integration points that we have, that all the items which are created in ERP are there in iVend. So we have a few retailers who do not want an option that to create an item in iVend which goes to the ERP. So when we talk about larger retailers, okay, typically using SAP IS Retail or S4HANA for retail, they don't want that option of creating an article, as it is called in that world, to be done from the store. So they always want the synchronization of items from the ERP into iVend Retail and not vice versa. So to the point that you're asking, the items are just created once in the ERP that get inherited here. So just to show you, again, you'll excuse me, I'm using SAP Business One, but just to show you, I go to purchasing in AP, I do go to purchase order, and if I see the last one, if I want to see the last transaction, it has all these items. Acme Associates is the name of the supplier, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all these items. And what would have also happened is the good receipt against the PO that I just did would have also come back into the ERP solution. One second, let me see, did it come? So it says 5 pieces have been received. Okay, and I remember I mentioned local purchase as one of the comments. It says local purchase. So this information comes back. Simple and straight. What I could also do is, let me just show this to you again. Had I created the purchase order here in the core accounting solution, then I would have ticked this small little tick on the top left that this is for the store 004, and it'll go all the way up to the ERP. So that's how this integration kind of works. I think that answers the question. So that's as far as the good receipt PO is concerned. Alex wants to know, in case of iVend plugged, in case of iVend unplugged, could we use vendors' price list as cost, save them? Yes, you certainly can. You can always do that. You can certainly do that. You can use the vendors' price list without a problem. Though you would normally won't do that. You would buy at an X rate and you add, let's say, 20%, 30% margin on what you're buying and then put it. So you will normally be creating a new price list. But as an option, yes, you can do that. Certainly can do that. So that's as far as good receipt, purchase order, good receipt PO is concerned. Then I have the whole cycle of stock transfer request. So let's say if I want to see all the open ones, there are no open ones, but if I see all the closed ones, for example, oh, there's hardly any. So let's say I create a new one. In this case, what happens by requesting warehouse, obviously is the warehouse from where the transaction is originating, and I can specify request from warehouse. Where am I requesting this? What is my request from warehouse? In this case, let's say I pick up a general warehouse. Okay, I specify a request number. So REQ/0012/1920. So that's my request number. Okay, and this is urgent replenishment. All right, and I just start adding the products the way I was doing in the other one, and I could also import a file. Hang on, there's something interesting called auto add products. If I click this button, no, this won't work here, but it works in when I'm raising a purchase order. When I'm raising the purchase order, I would be able to automatically add products depending upon the supplier combination. Let's say add the product group apparel search pick up. Sorry, let's pick up these two. Okay, so available quantity is so much. How much you want to order? Let's say 10 pieces. Request 10 pieces. Okay, and just go ahead. So this is a simple request form. Okay, again, these will all be customized. All retailers would like it to be customized. Okay. Now, what would have happened is, imagine the request from warehouse, which is my general warehouse, is also using iVend retail. All right, so they have a similar. They would have a similar console, iVend management console. They would first get a notification here, okay, under notification section, that this has been requested for. And what they would do is, in their case, they would do a stock transfer shipment. When I do a stock transfer shipment, I press the new button, and it'll, before even I go there, it'll just open all the open stock transfer shipment requests that which are there, and they'll be able to complete a transaction. Because I've ordered in this case to the warehouse centrally, it will be available in my ERP here. So I go stock transfer receive. Sorry. Oh, one moment. Inventory transfer request. Too small a font. If you see here, this is the one that got created from the ERP, from the retail solution to the ERP. It says urgent replenishment required. From here, I copy it to the inventory transfer. And the moment I do inventory transfer, it would first take it to the inventory transfer would transfer the goods from the central warehouse to a stock in transit warehouse or in transit warehouse, and from where it will automatically be available as in a stock transfer receipt in this. Okay, so let's say pick up this one. So I press new. This is the one. I press OK. And this is what I had requested for. Transferred quantity, received quantity, and the transaction will go through. So let's say I receive, let's say 4 of them. What the system also does is it, let's first finish this. It allows you to do print labels also. So if I press OK, it expects me to give the location. It's okay. Oh, come on. And the transaction will go through, and it'll start displaying here. Again, a small little document is created, which more often than not is customized. So that completes that cycle of, and if you pick up the ones which are the older ones, okay, you have the option of printing a label. So if I want to say print label, I select the format, let's say, let's say pick up this one that I had done. Okay, barcode symbology 128 EN13, that's the most popular one. Okay, quantity is 1. I won't print it right now because it shrinks my screen completely, but that's how you would do that. There's also something called a smart product selection when you're trying to print labels. Okay, when you press on smart selection, it says show all the records of which price has changed after the last label and show items in stock only. When you do that, you would then be able to print them. That's as far as this is concerned. There is a topic on label printing that I have to cover, I think today, if I'm not wrong. I'll come to this at length as to how it is all done there, how to print a label, because Unlike many other applications, iVend Retail is one of the few ones which allow you to print labels from within the application. Okay, so the whole concept of designing a label and printing the label on a Zebra printer or any other compatible label printer uh, is what iVend Retail allows you to do that. Normally, a retailer would have to license a completely different application, third-party solution, export the items, design the labels, print them, and then do all that. Uh, in iVend, you can do it all within the solution. All right. Do I have a few more questions? So Peter wants to know, when a transfer is done, I believe the cost of goods sold is also moved. Is there in-transit type of transfer where the COG would with the COG to go when in this? Yes. So what really happens is you're essentially doing, should I say, debit cost of goods sold for warehouse one, and credit the inventory in warehouse one. In the second transaction that you do is flip the cost of goods sold debit and credit, and the third transaction that you do is debit stock, credit cost of goods sold for in transit. So the three transactions that happen, the cost of goods sold moves, COGS value moves from warehouse one to in transit, from in transit to the actual store from where it was requested for. I think I understood the question well, and I think I did answer it. So that's as far as this is concerned. Let me, if you don't mind, guys, I'll just put you on a mute for a moment. Just put you on a mute for a moment, and I'll come back in a second. Please don't go away. All right, I'm back. So that's far as the stock transfers are concerned. Let's keep moving. Similarly, I can do a simple good issue and good return. No big deal about it. I want to talk about inventory counting before I talk about kit building and break. Let's talk about inventory counting. Okay. The way this cycle really works is you first define the inventory count setup. Okay. So let's say this is, I call it March 13, 2019. All right. Give the description as the same. All right. And I attach a price list here. Okay. I pick up the price. Let's say I want to have my SL base price list. I specify the location which I want to, all the sale location is what I want to do that, and use starting quantity for reconciliation. So what this means is, using starting quantity for reconciliation means that you may have started the count today on March 13th, but the count may spread, let's say, 2 days. System will keep track of all the transactions that happen in between from the time you started till the time you finish. So it will do that adjustment automatically. Okay. Then it says auto add the products. If I want to automatically add the products, these are the ones for which the counting hasn't been done. But I will, in this case, just add the product selectively. Product group, apparel, search. Okay. So this is my product IDs, description, locations, what is the quantity, and you want to count yes or not. So this is what you create as in the inventory count setup. Then you actually do the counting. When you actually do the counting, okay, so you could either be doing through a handheld or it could be simple paper based, depending upon how the store is set up or how the warehouse store is set up actually. So someone goes around and counts 100102, level 1, what has been the counted quantity, and so on and so forth. Down below, I have the option of displaying, show the in-store quantity. Okay. I also have the option of show the difference. Okay. Count inventory. So what this means is, I have packs and eaches. If I count packs, system will automatically convert them into eaches. That's what this essentially means. Okay. So typically, depending upon how the store is set up, you may hide the in-store quantity and hide the difference, or you will have to show it. So let's say in this case, my counted quantity is 989. This one is 958. This is 973. This is 980. Let's say 980. All right. So there's a difference of 9 pieces in product number 5. Everything remaining the same. 954. Then I have 1030, and I have 1000. All right. So once I have added all these, I press the button. Reconcile inventory. Are you sure you want to reconcile? I say yes. I could have done a selective reconciliation. But I reconciled all of them. What really would have happened is that I counted less than what the system showed me. Okay, for 1005. If I counted less than what the system showed me, that means I should do some kind of a good receipt. 1 second, there's a question somewhere in between. Robin wants to know, what does auto update prices do to the stock take? And that's exactly what I'm trying to show you. What happens is it should have done a good receipt transaction automatically, if I'm not wrong. I don't see it here. No, this is different. It should actually automatically create a receipt transaction. Maybe an issue. Am I missing it? Should create an issue transaction. Yeah, I should create an issue transaction. Sorry, guys. 100105, quantity 9. So Peter wants to know, Manish, can you go back to the count screen? Does it save it? Can multiple people access the count sheet and update it accordingly, or can it only be done with one screen at once? I think it is just one screen, one person at a time. But let's go back. I think what you're asking for, the way you want to do it, if multiple people are doing it, let's say pick up this one. There you go. I think that's the answer. So multiple people can do it, and then I can merge them. Let's try and see how that works. Let's try and break the system. 1 minute. I'm doing it at runtime with you guys. 1 moment. Inventory counting. I say new. This is March 13, 2019 V2. Okay. That's my price list. Okay. Pick up the location saleable. Nothing else. I say add the product. Product group. Apparel. Search. Okay. This time I want to do it. Let's say 8. Sorry. Just 2 of them. Okay. And I want to say count the inventory. Okay, 1 moment. I'll Peter wants to know, include an item for the last count. 1 second, I should do that. Yes. Let's see. Yeah, 7 and 8. Oh shit. Inventory counting. Edit 7 and 8. Show in store quantity. Show the difference. All right. Just want to see how it handles the merge when both counts have the same amount. Okay, fair enough. So in this case, let's say, in this case, the counted quantity was 1000, and in this case was 995. So the difference is about 35. All right. What I'm wondering is, should I reconcile it now? But because if I've reconciled, I might not be able to merge it. Let's say inventory counting. See, yeah, only open inventory counts allowed to merge. I think, Peter, what the system would do is, I don't want to hold the entire audience, but I think what the system will do is, you can count multiple times. You don't have to reconcile them. You don't reconcile. And if you have unreconciled counts, so let's say one set of people are doing menswear, the other set of people are doing kids or women, etc., and you get the entire count from 3-4 different sources, and then you merge them together. I think that that's what the system would do before you reconcile the inventory. What we did in our cases, we reconciled it. We shouldn't have done that actually. I think that was, in any case, I'll confirm it and let you know, Peter. In the meantime, Faizan wants to know, is the goods issue stock adjustment? Yes, Faizan, the goods issue is a stock adjustment. Faizan also wants to know what feature allows you to force recounts if there's a difference between count and expected. So what feature allows you to force recounts? No, I don't think there is something that will force me to recount. But I think what the system would is, because I'm showing the difference, etc., it's up to the judgment of the store manager whether should you really recount it again. Because this is where the I would say the experience of the store manager fits in, rather than being, he says, well, I don't think it is that bad. So items which are slightly slow moving, high value, slow moving items, okay, the store manager always would know what is the typical count available, how many such pieces are available. So to answer your question, I don't think there is anything that forces to a recount. I think we leave it to the judgment of the store manager. All right, so that's as far as this is concerned. Expenses are simple stuff. You basically, if you want to record any kind of expenses in the store, okay, you create a new expense. There are reason codes available. Okay, so I say a new. Specify the amount, specify the reason, specify the comment, and what it would typically do is, once it gets integrated all the way back, it would create a journal entry in the core accounting application that such an expense has been done. I won't go into forecast planning and planning scenario forecast, but this is more about, should I say, forecasting as such. We'll come to this if time permits, but this again is a very interesting concept. More importantly, this also manages and controls the replenishment policies and replenishment plans. What that means is, if I pick up a particular product, 100102, for example, and I say view, and I go to view inventory so what I could typically have, these are the different warehouses that I have. Mine is the avenues. Okay, it says the available quantity is 989, but if you keep scrolling towards the right, Okay, so it says how much is in stock, how much returned, how much lost, how much in fulfillment, what is the total available right now, how much is in transit. Okay, but if you keep scrolling to the right, it allows you to define the minimum levels, the maximum levels, and the replenishment method. And because I'm seeing only one item, I could have multiple min-max levels for the same item across all the stores. Okay, that's one part of the story where I can have minimum, maximum levels of the same item across the entire retail chain. That's one part. The second is the replenishment method. I could have the replenishment method as local purchase or a stock transfer or kitting. What that means is when I run the MRP engine, what should be the recommendation? The recommendation could either be a purchase. If you've selected purchase, it would be a transfer or it could be kitting. Okay, so kitting is essentially, we had an example yesterday of a bed, okay, which is three things to it: a mattress, the bed head, and whatever. So that those three things can be sold individually and also as a kit. So if my replenishment method is kitting, then the system will then, what it will do is look for individual items, kit them together, or look for kits and break the kits. So that's one part of the entire replenishment policy. What system also does is allows you to define the minimum order quantity, essentially pack sizes. So let's say you run short, your pack sizes are packs of 20, and you need, let's say, 22. So what the system will do is it will give you 40 pieces. It can't do 22 as such. So that's what the pack sizing is all about. So system will keep track of min levels, max levels, replenishment methods, okay, and the minimum order quantity, depending upon whether you want to consider this combination as an item store combination for an MRP run. If you specify this to be considered in the MRP run, then it'll give you a recommendation for whether you should be purchasing or you should be transferring or you should be kitting. So that's what the forecasting bit does. And what I just spoke about is the options available for replenishment policies and replenishment plans. Then okay, there's some question here. 1 second. So Fazon wants to know, is the replenishment based solely on min-max levels, or do we take into equation any other criteria? No, not any other criteria. I mean, it obviously takes into consideration goods which are in transit, ordered but not received, things like that, if that is what you mean by the criteria. But other than min-max, no, it doesn't. So there are two ways of doing it. Either we could do min-max levels, or we could do reorder levels and reorder quantity. So the two broad concepts available when it comes to replenishment, either min-max or reorder level, reorder quantity. We follow the min-max level because you have to select either of the two. So we picked up one. So you select min-max levels and keep into consideration goods which are in transit, as in which have been shipped but not received of sorts. And we ought also keep in mind the things which are under, forgetting the word, but which have been allocated, as in they have been reserved. So we keep that in mind. Then I have another question from Robin, which says, will the system automatically raise a PO when inventory has gone below min level, or does it appear when the user is? No. What the system will do is that when you run the forecast, it will give you a recommendation that this is what you want to do. So let's say it gives you a recommendation of raising a purchase order for 100 pieces. You may not like to raise, you may or you may not like to raise a purchase order of 100 pieces. You would say, fine, will much rather order 75 and live with it and see how the inventory moves rather than ordering 100. System might say 100. So system just gives a recommendation. It does not actually go ahead and create one for you, which I think is the right way of doing it. Okay, any other questions that you have? This is a very interesting topic, kind of my favorite. I would say I know this subject fairly well, so I wouldn't mind picking up questions here. All right, so let's go to agenda for a moment. Let's see how are we doing there. All right, so we did a bit of back office transactions. We did these store setup tills. We did back office transactions. We haven't done the point of sale transactions. We haven't done barcode and label designing. We have about 20 minutes left. Fair enough. So what we'll do is I'll flip over to the. Okay, Faizan wants to know. Can you quickly show me where the setup warehouse locations? Well, warehouse locations. I mean, these are terms which are used interchangeably depending upon which ERP you come from. Like in Sage, warehouse locations is actual warehouses. Let me try and do one at a time. Locations in the context of iVend are logical locations in the store where you store damaged goods, sale items, etc. So I'll try and show you both of them. So when we talk about the warehouses in the context of an integrated ERP, like an SAP Business One, somewhere, be it B1 or be it Sage, when you talk about inventory control setup, somewhere there you specify, you create warehouses, you create different warehouses. Those warehouses are available in iVend Retail in retail configuration store. And when you define a new one, define a new retail store, you have to pick up a selling warehouse, which is this list gets populated based on the kind of ERP that you have at the back end. If you don't have an ERP, life is easy, but you will have to do this in case you have a warehouse integrated. That's where you pick it up from. That's as far as this is concerned. And then we have a location in the context of iVend Retail, okay, where we talk about those logical segregations. So we pick up the Avenue store. And in the Avenue store, this is my default location, which is my sales, refund, fulfillment. Okay. Similarly, we have, let's say, good receipt Avenue, which is only does good receipts. So these are two different, should I say, or maybe level one saleable in for my Avenue store. So these are two different definitions of the word locations, whichever, I don't know which one you wanted to know, but I think I've answered both of them. Robin wants to know, can a label for the warehouse be generated for the user at the warehouse to advise them where to pack the article? No, I don't have a very formal pick pack mechanism. Okay, in iVend Retail, what I'm doing is from the classical warehousing standpoint rather elementary. Okay, what I'm doing is let me just actually try and show that to you, the inventory handheld module. Just 1 second. This is the emulator that I have for a Windows-based. If you have the demo stack installed, this would have got configured automatically. It takes a while. Please bear with me. Let me pick up a question in the meantime. Okay, I'll come to Robin in a moment. In the meantime, Alex wants to know, is it possible to generate barcodes in iVend for new items without barcodes to print labels later? Yes, it's possible to do that. So to the question that Robin had asked, it is related to when they receive their goods from the supplier upon delivery. All right. No, I don't have a put away mechanism that you're looking for. That when you receive, let me just, so let's say good receipt. We had created a purchase order. Okay, that was number 11, if you remember. Okay, pick up an item, polo shirt. Let's say the quantity is 1. I add the row. And when you do this, this is where it'll automatically get attached to the level. So to the point that Alex is asking, would the system suggest where it has to be put up? Yes. No, I think Robin asked that question, if I'm not, I'm sorry, confused. So it'll certainly suggest the level, but this is because I have kind of, I would say, not hard coded it, but suggested that whenever you receive, you put it in that particular location. So this is the level that I am selecting. Okay. So once I've done this transaction, the transaction gets automatically saved. So to the point that it's sort of pure warehousing solution. Basically, simple transaction: good receipt, PO, stock transfer, stock management, goods return to vendor, item lookup, stock take is what I do on the emulator, and that's which. It's not a pure warehousing solution, but it still serves a significant part of the purpose when it comes to doing warehousing operations on a handheld device. Robin, did that answer the question? Thank you. All right, so let's try and so we did this bit. What I really want to talk about is a few post point of sale transactions, and point of sale transactions would be more pertinent when we talk about the gift card coupons, etc. tomorrow. But very hurriedly, let me try and show you a few point of sale transactions. What are the options available on the point of sale? So mind you, we just did an end of day, and this is the first time I would be opening my point of sale after having done the end of day. So let's see what really happens when I'm starting the point of sale after having conducted the end of day. It's taking far more time than what it normally does. So username 1, password pass @123. I log in. It says your business date is different from your. Remember, we moved from 2nd to the 3rd of March. I say yes. So this is the user who's logged in, who's trying to log in rather. I say clock in. Once I clock in, this is the float that is available. So to the point, I think Robin or Faizan, one of the guys asked that normally in UK, they leave cash behind in the cash drawer. I was saying rather than leaving it behind in the cash drawer, we would much rather put cash in the cash drawer when it starts on the first day. So this is the float amount. Okay, I said, okay, I'm not entering anything. Do you want to print the cash drawer receipt? No. And then I would then be able to start doing the transactions. The system will automatically start doing, the user would get automatically logged into the point of sale. So that's how this kind of completes the whole, the till management process. So when I come here, this is the point of sale. I think we very briefly spoke about this on the first day. All this is user configurable. I showed you different point of sale templates. Okay, all this is user configurable. This is my scan area, which is an intelligent scan area. So depending upon what you scan, there is a hierarchical fallback mechanism. It checks for whether it's a customer or not, an item or not, or a barcode or a serial number. A batch number or a serial number, etc. So let's say the customer is Edward. The moment I select Edward as a customer, on the right hand side, the information about Edward comes in. What's the name, level, loyalty points, etc. All this information comes in here. I could do a sale transaction. I could do a refund, an exchange, a special order, a coupon, etc. So let's try and do a special order transaction. I'll do 2 transactions. I'll talk about 2 topics in one go. So that's my special order. I'm trying to do a special order transaction. The question in between, Peter wants to know, when a float amount is entered, how does the ERP system handle it? Example, a journal entry is done between RMS and uh, in a Sage POS system and Sage ERP. When you declare a float amount in the morning, does iVend handle the same? No, it doesn't. It's basically, this bit is outside the system. What really happens is, when you're putting in the float, either you do the journal entry before you do the journal. Okay, for the benefit of the audience, let me try and read the question aloud. So what Peter is asking for is, when a float amount is entered, how does the ERP system handle it? For example, a journal entry is done between Sage RMS and Sage ERP 300 when you declare a full amount in the morning. Does iVend handle it the same manner? It would do that, but I don't think the transaction, the journal entry done in Sage gets automatically incorporated for that float transaction being done on in iVend. Okay, what you would typically do is you would do that journal entry and keep it there, and at the end of the day, when you reconcile, you will have to reconcile it. But I don't think it is, for lack of a better phrase, I don't think it is smart enough to do that. Okay, so let's come to the special order part of it. So this is a special order for the customer Edward 4001012, 4001013, 4001014. So 3 pieces is what Edward is buying. These images come automatically from the system, depending upon how you've entered them in the product item master screen in the management console. This sign gives information about the ID, the name, the level, the points, the balance, the phone number, and the email ID. And at the bottom have the information about totals and taxes, etc. So this is a special order and would always have a fulfillment attached to it. So let's see the fulfillment here. Okay, the fulfillment here is a delivery type fulfillment. Okay, for these 3 items. I can specify whether these quantities have to be reserved or not. I can do it at this level. So item would not be available for sales. And I can change the delivery location, that instead of from delivery location 004, it goes from the general warehouse. I could add additional products and surcharges. In this case, the surcharge is, if you remember, I had shown you earlier when we're doing fulfillment, it's surcharges 7.5. All right, that's a fine, fair enough. This is okay. And I say cash. Would you like to take the advance payment against the order? I could say yes or no. Let's say I say yes. And I want to take 100 units. So what you heard was the cash drawer getting opened. Oh my God, this is rather slow. And the receipt being printed. So we did this transaction. So this is a special order that gets done. Now, the interesting bit, where I did this transaction, special order, from a point of sale standpoint, it's rather simple, it's just nothing complicated here. You can search an item, a customer, specify the quantity, you can mention a comment, you can edit an item, you can edit a sale, fulfillment I just talked about, you could suspend, recall a transaction. So the options available are I would say, what you would expect in a normal point of sale. It's just that the way it takes it to the next level, which is interesting. Okay, so I just did a transaction, a special order transaction. Edward Robinson is the name of the customer. He bought 3 pieces. He has given me some advance. The balance is to be collected at the time of delivery. So let's see how does the transaction actually look like. I go to Management Console, Operations, Business Transactions, go to POS Transaction Register, and this is the transaction that I just did. All right, fair enough. No drama. But in this case, I want the goods to be delivered from a mobile point of sale. I want the goods to be gift wrapped and then delivered to Edward's place. So what I would do is I will pick up this option called mobile post delivery, select the point of sale. Let's say my Android point of sale. Oh, what happened? Okay, and then I would, let's just sort it. So that's a transaction I'm talking about. Okay, what I'll do is I'll say create a package. So what's really happening is if you can relate this to the Amazon shopping that happens is you buy whatever you have to, but the guy who comes to deliver does not know what the package contains. He only has information that it has to be delivered to Manish, and that's about it. So I say create a package. Sorry. I select this. I say create a package. The package is now created. Okay. It'll now be available on the mobile point of sale for delivery purposes. Okay. Now let me try and show that to you on the mobile POS. Bear with me for a moment. What really would happen is on the mobile point of sale, okay, that particular option would be available as not an item, but as a package. Let me see if I can, how do I do this? Just bear with me. I'm trying to cast my Android device, Android phone onto the, there you are. So I go to mobile point of sale. It says your business and current data mismatch will continue. Yes, continue. Okay. So I want the transaction first. Now, what has happened so far, if you try and relate to physically, the store manager handed over the packages to the delivery boy. The delivery boy has reached Edward's place and he selects the customer, search, Edward Robinson. These are the transactions available. He picks up fulfillment, presses this, okay, and one second, guys, just 1 minute. I think I did not reconcile it. One moment. It should have synchronized automatically. That's what I call as the Murphy's Law. So what's happening is I'm trying to synchronize my mobile POS with the iVend enterprise. And once the synchronization is done, it would then be available as a fulfillment, which will just show me the word package. The delivery boy would just deliver it. All right, so let's do it again. Customer, search, Edward Robinson, fulfillment, add the package. That's the one. Add the package. So this package is added. We really don't, the delivery boy doesn't really know what it's all about. For sake of simplicity, I just press quick cache. Okay. Signature. Save. And the transaction would go through. It would then, when the store manager sees in his management console, he would see the details of the package. The delivery boy doesn't get to see it. Oh, sorry, unable to deliver. Whatever. So that's the Murphy's Law. It's absolutely fine. Let me quit this. And let me show you what really would have happened. I have an older transaction. Just 1 minute. Just 1 second, guys. There you go. So what would have happened is if I go to the post transaction register, this is the package that was delivered. Okay, if I see view, it'll show me the details of the package, as in what all it should show me 3 pieces of item number 12, 13, and 14, the payment details being all cash. So that's how the classical the Amazon model, as they say. Okay, so I'm able to deliver goods using the mobile POS, and it is this bit which is being used by at least 2 of our customers that I know of. There's one customer called Al Hajri in Kuwait. They use this mobile POS delivery option to deliver uh, medicines in the country city. It is also being used by this company called Yakult, which is the Japanese company probiotic bottles that they have. They use this mobile POS delivery option to deliver those probiotic bottles across their different retailers across the city. So close to about 120 odd such is being used across the country. We started as a pilot here in India, and we are expanding now to Southeast Asian countries also. So that's as far as this bit is concerned. I'll try and pick up any questions that you may have. All right, Peter wants to leave. Fair enough. Farhan says, "What's a Murphy's law?" I would suggest that you Google this. You'll get an idea. So one of the laws of Murphy is the other line always moves faster. So, all right. I think we have passed the hour. Okay, and we'll meet again tomorrow at the same time. I think I have kind of done fair amount of coverage today. What I have left is barcode and label designing. We'll flip over to the next session tomorrow. And tomorrow, when we talk the good stuff, gift card coupons, etc. We also talk about in length the product screen item master definition is what I will explain at length tomorrow. Essentially, all the line items mentioned under the heading inventory is what I will talk about. That's where I'll pick up the kits also. So that's largely it for me now. If you have any questions, you can ask them right now, or we certainly can meet tomorrow, whichever is okay with you. I'll in any case wait for any questions. Then I think I'll close the session. We don't have many questions today. We'll make the session more interactive tomorrow. Thank you so much. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Lister. Thank you, David. Thank you, Farhan. Thank you, Robin, and thank you, the rest of others. And we'll meet tomorrow. Thank you very much, and have a great day ahead, whatever is left.